discernment is defined as the ability to judge well. And so as we're talking about spiritual discernment, we're talking about judging well. How do we judge? How do we go about judging what is nourishing us? How do we go about judging what spaces, what people, what context, what theology is life-giving to us? And so part of spiritual discernment, I believe, involves discernment for judging well and also care. Spiritual discernment involves discernment, judging well, and also care. Care is the provision of what is necessary for the maintenance and well-being of someone and something. So let's put these together. Spiritual discernment involves discernment and care. It requires care. It's a process that each of us is called to engage in constantly, to choose to participate in this process where we joyfully judge and say, what is necessary to fuel and nourish my own joy? What is necessary to protect and provide for my joy and the joy of my community? And what might be getting in the way of that joy? Spiritual discernment involves all of this process. It's a journey into the truth of love that involves, and maybe this is where you're at today, this process involves letting go of some beliefs that we may have held dear since we were kids, that may still be very important to us today, but they may be beliefs that are harming us, beliefs that are harming our very images of who we believe God sees us as and who we see ourselves to be. And that gets us into the end of this mini sermon with Matthew in this fiery passage where Matthew says, he's given us this parable, and the landowner says in Matthew 13:30, let both of them grow. Let these weeds and this wheat grow together, and when the harvest comes, we'll separate them. Now for a second, I just want us to let these weeds be weeds, okay? Let's let the damn weeds just be weeds. Don't read yourself into this parable. Don't read your neighbor into this parable. Don't read nobody into this parable. We're gonna let the weeds be the landowner reacts to this situation from a place, yes, of calm patience, of neutral acknowledgement. Maybe some folks in seminary or therapy have heard this, you acknowledge feelings and events neutrally. To let them arise and acknowledge that they are present without shame or fear or anger and say, this is what has happened. Now, from this place of neutral acknowledgement, how can I go forward? How can I go forward in a way that nourishes my joy? How can I go forward in a way that tends to my joy and the joy of my community? The landowner says, we'll take the weeds, we'll gather them up, and then we'll do what we always do with weeds. We'll burn them. Not, let's put some gasoline and let's burn these weeds as an angry act of vengeance, but let's deal with the weeds as we've been taught to deal with weeds, or what is the proper way to deal with weeds. And in this case, you gather the weeds up so that they don't spread, and you burn them so that their roots don't take root wherever you threw them. And then they go out and they gather the wheat and they put it in the barn. They gather what nourishes them from the situation and they place it in a place where they can go back to. They dispose carefully with the things that are not life-giving, and they dispose of them in a proper way for whatever that context was. And they gather what is nourishing and they hold that together in community.